Sonic the Hedgehog's 25th anniversary was last week, but that doesn't mean I am done with him yet. I am going to go through 20 of his spin-off games. Now, technically some of these may be interpreted as part of the main series, but because they don't star Sonic or they have different gameplay styles, I thought they should be included in more of a spin-off selection. And by no means, this is not a definitive list of all of his spin-offs. Hardly. There are a lot of games that I could not track down for capture, and a lot of them are mobile devices, and there's a lot of Japanese exclusives as well. So with those clarifications out of the way, let's name the titles and then we'll get into my thoughts. So, first we have Sonic Eraser, released for the Sega Genesis in 1991 in Japan. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, released for the Sega Genesis in February 1993. Sonic the Hedgehog Spinball, released for the Sega Genesis on November 14th, 1993. Sonic Drift, released for the Game Gear on March 18th, 1994 in Japan. Knuckles Chaotix, released for the Sega 32X, released in April 20th, 1995. Tales of Sky Patrol, released for the Game Gear in April 28th, 1995 in Japan. Sonic Drift 2, released for the Game Gear on November 1995. Sonic Labyrinth, released for the Game Gear in November of 1995. Tails' Adventure, released for the Game Gear on November 11th, 1995. Sonic R, released for the Sega Standard on October 31st, 1997. Sonic Pinball Party, released for the Game Boy Advance on June 1st, 2003. Sonic Battle, released for the Game Boy Advance on January 5th, 2004. Shadow the Hedgehog, released for the PS2 on November 15th, 2005. Sonic Riders, released for the GameCube on February 21st, 2006. Sonic Rivals, released for the PSP on November 16th, 2006. Sonic Rivals 2, released for the PSP on November 13th, 2007. Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood, released for the DS on September 30th, 2008. Sonic and Sega All-Star Racing, released for the DS on February 23rd, 2010. Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games, released for the Wii on November 15th, 2011. And Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, released for the Wii U on November 11th, 2014. Now I should clarify, just like last time, there are other platforms some of those games released on, so another clarification. Alright, so going back to Sonic Eraser, this is the first spin-off game for Sonic the Hedgehog. There is no known date. It released sometime in Japan in 1991 for their downloadable service. It is essentially started off as not a Sonic game, but they put him in there just because he would sell more. I really don't have much to say on it. It's a puzzle game. It's whatever. It's kind of notable reading the first one, but let's move on to another puzzle game, which is Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. And this is actually the American version. It was localized from Puyo Puyo, which is a very popular puzzle game over in Japan. But again, they thought it would sell more if they kind of rebranded it as a Dr. Robotnik or, Sega-like game. And I'm not really a fan of Wario's Woods or this kind of game or Tetris or anything like that. Puzzle games are just like not my kind of thing. My sister and dad love them. I used to watch them quite a bit growing up because it kind of soothed me a little bit to watch them play these puzzle games because they're very, very good. Technically, you can count Sonic Labyrinth as a puzzle game as well, as you're going through this maze and trying to solve these puzzles. There are more Sonic mechanics to it, but it's also not a core kind of Sonic game, and it just wasn't very fun either. Now, a type of puzzle game that I do like are pinball games, because ultimately they are kind of puzzle games in a sense. And this one is kind of cool. You always imagine Sonic as a ball, so why not put him in a pinball game or a spinball game, I say in quotes. And it's kind of cool that the environments are more broad and you're kind of going after these things. And this first derelict area is just kind of very swampy and weird. It's kind of a whatever kind of game. I do like the Sonic Pinball Party a little bit more in the GBA. It is just more of a pinball game. It's not like trying to be some kind of adventure kind of thing. It's just like straight up pinball with a lot of cool bonuses and stuff like that. And the GBA actually has a lot of good pinball games. Pokemon is a really good one too, Sapphire, and whatever the other one was that wasn't Sapphire. I'm blanking on it right now, but anyway, Ruby, that's what it was. Alright, let's talk about cars for a little bit. Sonic Drift 1 and 2 for the Game Gear were fine, whatever. I was just like, oh, of course they have to do their own racing games because they're a lot of the things are Mario bouncing off of Sonic and Sonic bouncing off of Mario, so of course there has to be a racing one for Sonic, and they're okay, but there's no like catch to them really. And also, why would Sonic drive in a car? But the newer games that have come out, the DS one, it came out to pretty much every platform when it came out in that year of 2010, I believe I said. And they're like all the Sega stars, they're all racing. It's really cool. You put the whole thing aside with Sonic and some of those characters racing in cars, and it's like whatever. But they're really, really fun. The best thing that is like a rival to the Mario Kart series is the second one, which is Sega Sonic All-Stars Transformed, which I did not capture, but believe me, that is a really, really good game on pretty much any platform to get it on. I played it a lot on Vita, actually. But yeah, they also did some kind of combined sports and racing with the Sonic Rider series. This is not the only one on the GameCube. There's been some other ones. There's even a Connect one, which is not too terribly good as far as I have seen. But there's also the whole point of, okay, so Sonic in a racing car is weird. How about we just have them run on foot with Sonic R, which just looks kind of terrible. It plays terribly. You know, it is Sonic and the rest of his friends racing each other on foot, except some people are in cars, which is just kind of head-scratching. I'm literally scratching my head right now. And there's also Sonic Rivals, which is kind of a little bit more, there is a story and stuff like that, and it's kind of more classic Sonic 2D gameplay, but you're also racing other people, so technically you can call it a racing game of sorts. But yeah, Sonic has, you know, as a fastest creature alive, of course he's going to have a bunch of racing games, and there's going to be some duds in there, but there are a lot of good ones too. Kind of piggybacking the whole Mario and Sonic thing, there's a lot of genres that Sonic tackled kind of after Mario or alongside Mario. For example, there are all the Olympic games that the two have starred in, which a ton of mini games. They are fine for the most part. They are fun diversions on consoles. They're kind of like pointless on the portables like the DS. It's just kind of like, why would you want to play this by yourself? The whole thing is like doing weird things with the Wii. That's what they're pretty much made for. And for that extent, they are, you know, like Wii Sports, they are fun for a time, and they have quite a bit of variety through all the titles that have come out, but they're also very repetitive and very the same, just like all the Mario Party titles. Of course, Sonic has also had a Smash kind of game on the Game Boy Advance. We have the Sonic Battle one. There's also a game called Sonic the Fighters, but I was not able to capture footage for that. But that is also a fighting game. Anyway, it is just kind of a brawler and you're fighting, and it looks actually kind of good. The sprites look pretty decent on the Game Boy Advance, but nothing to write home about. And the BioWare Sonic RPG is just kind of like weird. I do like that it is kind of an active kind of time system, but it's weird because you're actually like platforming in the actual battles, which is a little strange. Also, the art style I am not a fan of. And the story, of course, Sonic has never had a great story, even with BioWare standards, but yeah, everything about the game was kind of ugly, and I wish it was just kind of a more kooky kind of RPG, but at least they tried, and I really would like to see Sonic try at another RPG at, you know, some point in the future. And now we come to the actual platforming with his friends. So Tails has had quite a few different adventures. The Game Gear duo, The Adventure and Tails Patrol, Sky Patrol, or whatever. Sky Patrol is like an on-rails kind of thing. Kind of hard to control, kind of a beautiful game. Also kind of puzzly in a sense. Whatever. Adventure is kinda Metroid-y, not really. It's a little bit better than the Sky Patrol one, but as far as games go for the sidekick, he hasn't had a good run. Knuckles' game is technically part of the main series, but as it's not really starring Sonic, I kind of thought it was a spin-off in my regard. And it's kind of fun, has some kind of neat mechanics where you kind of have this ring and you're tied to another character and you can kind of launch each other, and you know, it actually looks good for the 32X. I guess, you know, it's a lot one and done with all the other Sonic games. It's a platformer, doesn't look that different. The whole chain thing is kind of a cool gimmick, but doesn't do a lot for me. The next game on here is Shadow the Hedgehog. People have kind of joked for a very long time to take Mario in a gritty way, like, why don't you give him a gun or do something like that? And there's a lot of great fan art out there of some stuff like that. And Sega was like, you know what, we're gonna actually do that. We're going to give Sonic a gun, but by Sonic we're gonna give the dark one, Shadow, a gun. And this is the most like 2000 game that was trying to encompass the 90s that I could ever possibly come up in my mind. The story is just wackadoo. You're shooting people along with monsters. The controls are really, really bad. It's so melodramatic, as Shadow is kind of in general, and it's just mind-boggling. You're shooting people. I don't know if they're robots. I'm sure someone comment like, well, actually, they're technically whatever. I don't care. They look like people. Along again, there are monsters too, but I mean, jeez, you're shooting just to give like machine guns and pistols. It's just, I mean, someone could say, what about Ratchet and Clank or Jak and Daxter? They have guns too. In that world, it makes more sense, but this is just something like, hey, why don't we do it too? Why don't we have our fur little creature have guns? There's something off and ishy about it. There's something that just like creeps me out about, say, Shadow the Hedgehog. It's not a good game. But the worst game on here has to be Sonic Boom, which was supposed to be a big new step for Sonic, but was kind of, it seemed like it was branded as a new title, but it's technically a spin-off, I guess. I actually didn't know that going in until I researched a little bit more. I would have put it in the main series, but whatever. I mean, it's a classic kind of Sonic game in some parts, and then it's also a brawler in other parts. And with all the character redesigns and the glitches from here to infinity, I mean, just watch some other videos out there. This is just a terrible, terrible game. I thought, like, you know, sitting down, I imagined myself, this can't be that bad. How bad can this really be? It's bad. It's not a good Sonic game at all, but yeah, save the worst for last. But that is Sonic's spin-off career. Again, there's a lot of games I did not touch on, and I did not go in depth for maybe what some of you may have wanted, but I have had myself a very Sonic month, and I am over him. Sega has been teasing that they're going to be announcing a bold new step for Sonic pretty soon. Not the Sonic Boom 3DS game that's coming out this year. No, it's supposed to be a new game. They've said it a lot, so who knows. Anyway, that's it for me, so see you next time. Hey, did you know that you're watching the Reaction Examiner YouTube channel? That's me. You should subscribe. You should also subscribe and read my writing over on Examiner.com, where I write about video games. And hey, while you're at it, check out my Patreon because I want to upgrade my YouTube channel to better and brighter things. And hey, speaking of YouTube channels, check out The Misadventures of Team Sexy Pants, where me and my best gal pal Matilda talk about putting things in the holes. It's a comedy sex podcast for the ages. I have a lot of other links as well, but you should go in the description notes below and you'll find all that cool stuff. For now, I'm just going to sit here a little bit longer while you decide what to click on.